My name is Wesley Lalich. I'm a senior associate at Minter Ellison. I'm currently on secondment at Westpac in their regulatory investigations team. On the diversity front, my personal experience largely relates to being an LGBTI solicitor. And in the past 2 years, I've worked with a number of people at Minter Ellison to launch an LGBTI network called Prime, which is Pride, Respect, and Inclusion at Minter Ellison. It has been a very positive experience that the firm has been, very, very supportive, and we were initially quite concerned about putting together a business case as to, why we needed a network. And really, as soon as we flagged the idea with senior management, head of the firm and a lot of the senior management was incredibly supportive, and the doors very much opened. And the network launched nationally about a year ago, and we've had great success. About 25% of the firm's headcount has signed up as allies or members of the network. So it's been a very positive experience.
What results have you seen as a result of that experience? How's that translated to
Well, broadly, the importance of diversity in the workplace is that it encourages people to be themselves at work, so you get more out of them. That employees who are more comfortable being themselves in the workplace are going to be mentally more at the workplace. And you're also less likely to lose good talent if people feel comfortable in the workplace. So with the LGBTI network, it's really been very much in the initial stages about signaling that it's okay to be out at work. And while the workplace while Minters was always very supportive, it's that there's been examples of one financial advisor at the firm. He has a young child, and he was quite reluctant about being very open in the workplace about referring to his husband and their child together. And he's found it much easier, and I've found it much easier about talking about my partner and other aspects of my life that I would have beforehand been more reluctant to do so. So you feel more comfortable about being yourself in the workplace.
How is this related? How's this work with clients? Clients are aware of this, and if they are, what has been your view about their reaction to it?
I think it depends on the clients. Some of the major corporates, especially the big banks, are very much on the front foot about diversity and about LGBTI issues. So they're very keen to see that in their service providers. So on that front, it's definitely a positive. And I think one of the issues that all LGBTI individuals go through is that you're always sort of reluctant to come out to someone because you're not really sure how they're going to take it. And you still go through that sort of motion with other clients that you're not really sure. Not all clients are large corporates that have LGBTI networks, and you might be a bit more reluctant about being completely open about it. I think on balance it's good for business, and most corporate clients are on board with this diversity in the workplace. So it's definitely on balance a positive.
Are there any costs for not promoting diversity that you can that you've experienced or that you're aware of?
Yeah, I think absolutely. It does take a mental toll if someone has to sort of hide a big part of themselves in the workplace. That's going to impact on their work, and you're not going to get the best out of them. And for some people, that toll is too much. They're not going to want to stick around. So you face the risk of losing good talent because they don't feel comfortable being themselves at work.
And would you say too that a lot of business is done based on relationships and personal relationships. Would you find that it would be very career limiting, I suppose, if you weren't able to share your kind of personal life with other people, so that by not forming these networks and by not discussing these things openly, it could really hold people back?
Yeah, it definitely helps to be open to people, because you can sort of develop much better relationships with people. And as society has come a long way on LGBTI issues, you can relate to people on different levels about it, and it helps build relationships often.
Have you had an experience with diversity programs overseas, or are you aware of what is happening overseas compared to here in Australia?
I've spent my career in Sydney, so not directly. I do know the British and the American law firms have probably been a bit more proactive about these issues. That, for example, in the LGBTI space, most large firms now have LGBTI networks that have come online in the past few years. I think in the UK, they probably came online, 10 or so years ago, 10, 15 years ago. So the British and the American firms probably have been, the leaders on this a bit before Australia has.
How do firms go about promoting diversity and inclusion?
A lot of it comes from the messaging from the top. Part of the reason that we thought it was a good time to start an LGBTI network at Minters was because a new CEO came on board, and a big part of his messaging was an Empower program about diversity generally, and this fit into that. So it definitely comes with the messaging from senior managers as to what they want to see in the workplace.
And that has worked?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it, that if senior management is obviously buying into it and they want to see it reflected in their employees and they want it as part of their, part of their firm, I think it definitely works.
And that is filtered down?
Yeah, I think it filters down. I mean, with all sort of strategic aims that, a firm is taking, it filters down from, at a firm, it, goes from senior management to the partners to the senior associates. And, this is what, the firm is aiming for as part of its strategy and what it wants to see. And that filters down through the entire workplace.
Okay. And are you aware of solicitors who might be struggling with exclusion?
I wouldn't say personally, but it is, especially for LGBTI solicitors, I mean, coming out generally is a concern. It's an issue coming out to your family, it's an issue coming out to your friends. So I mean, that's a personal journey that people have to take. And part of that is coming out in the workplace, and you do have concerns about how that's going to impact on your career. And coming back to the point of having an LGBTI network is to signal that this is a safe work environment, that being out in the workplace is a good thing.
Do you think there's anything that the Law Society should be doing to deal with the diversity and exclusion issues, and particularly in relation to LGBTI?
Well, there could be a specific LGBTI committee. Not something I'm particularly familiar with, but I'm sure there is. I mean, a lot of the focus has been sort of on the younger generation, and that there are sort of a lot of older LGBTI solicitors that when they joined the profession, it wasn't as encouraging and as an open environment. So I'm sure many of them face their own issues as to being out at work, and perhaps the Law Society could do something about that. Perhaps as part of College of Law, there could be a diversity workshop encompassing LGBTI and other issues about flexible work practices and all those sort of suite of programs that firms are currently generally getting on board with.
You said before that the US and the UK are probably a little bit ahead of Australia. Are they doing anything over there that you're aware of that we should be doing here?
No, again, I'm not too familiar with the specifics, so I don't have any specific ideas. But as far as I can tell, I think Australian firms and corporate Australia and Australian society has been catching up quite quickly, that things have changed a lot in the space of a few years.